I know, the title of the video sounds insane, but we're going to go over why the Streetfighter V4 is actually underrated. What is up, you guys? Let's get this thing started. So I know what you guys are thinking, like, why in the world is he making a video where he says it's underrated? You know, this bike is pretty hyped up in the naked bike community for being one of the best, if not the best, one in the category. But I think there's a bunch of points that I'll bring up on this ride that will kind of have you think about how this actually could be underrated. So we're going to get into those and a few more things during this beautiful ride home from work today. One thing that I think happens all the time with these bikes in general is that they're overshadowed by their super sport counterparts. So for instance, you know, the Panigale V4, this bike's basically twin sister, just has a bunch more fairings, you know, same frame, same general powertrain, all that stuff. But it's so overshadowed by the super sports that everybody just lumps this into the, oh, it's a touring commuter, more boring bike, you know. But in a lot of ways, this is more exciting, at least to me. You know, okay, yeah, super sport can go very fast and you can tuck into it, but this one ergonomically just makes more sense if you want to just have fun on a daily basis. Like wheelies, just all around hooning. A naked bike's going to be way more fun than a super sport. Now, you can tell me I'm wrong in the comments below. They're just seen as lesser bikes than the super sports, you know? I think another point would be that the price to performance of these, people see, oh, like that's a high price for a motorcycle, and I highly agree. That is a very high price for a motorcycle, but the price to performance ratio is still there. Like, yeah, you're paying $20,000-$30,000 for a motorcycle. That's a lot of money. But when you're comparing it to the different bikes in that category, those bikes are also very highly priced. You know, the Super Duke 1390, the Aprilia Tuono V4, any of the MV Agusta, even though those are, honestly, you're just paying for the name for those, which some people say is what Ducati's about, but I think they're wrong. Like, of course, Ducati's a well-known brand, and, you know, they've been known to be a little flashy, but you're getting a lot of performance for your dollar with these bikes. I would say they're also underrated in the reliability / maintenance department, because when you come to the new V4 powertrain, you know, Ducati's, everybody will comment on all of my different, you know, shorts, videos, whatever, about just how unreliable Ducati is, and oh, the maintenance, oh my gosh, the cost. It is not that bad at all. People over exaggerate like crazy now for these things. In the past, was it true? Sure. Were they unreliable? Absolutely. But they have drastically shifted. You know, now that they're owned by the VW group, you know, Audi, Lamborghini, all that stuff, they've really helped build some reliability into it. I know I say VW, reliability is not really the word to use for that, but it's way more reliable than they have been. And really the only thing on these bikes that costs a ton of money to have done is the Desmo service, and that is something that, it's pricey, you know. That is kind of the Ducati tax, because Desmo is not necessarily something that's a necessity. You know what I mean? It's something where modern metal technologies have enabled valve springs to be able to, you know, accommodate super high RPMs, which is the purpose for Desmo originally. So they do it more so because it is extremely performance oriented. Oh my gosh, there's so much dust on this road. It's extremely performance oriented, and that's just what they're known for, you know. And they can, I guess, rake you over the coals if you go to the dealership and you need a service on it. But oh lord, what do we got here? Didn't expect to stop on a one-way or one lane. So the Desmo service on this thing, I think, is around like $1,600 to $2,000, around there, and that's a pretty penny. But it is every 15,000 miles, and I'm only at 6,000. Oh, I'm almost at 6,666. But realistically, the oil changes, all the stuff that I've done so far, is pretty much the same cost as any other bike that I've had. I've always put high-grade oil in it. I've always really paid attention to using OEM filters, all that stuff. So, you know, my older bikes, even my Suzuki, was around $100 for an oil change. So this being a little over $100 for an oil change, you know, doing it myself, of course, is really not a big deal. And if that is a big deal, then don't get a Ducati, obviously. You know what I mean? So there's certain things you can do to mitigate that. I totally understand if that's not you don't want to deal with that. It makes sense. But the argument that these are just unreliable now is false. That guy was hardcore staring. Another underrated aspect of this bike is just that it's so manageable. The power that it makes comes in a way where you can totally be fine riding this daily, tracking the bike, just being a hooligan on it. It really doesn't matter what you want to do. It will adapt to whatever you want. I think that's a super underrated aspect of most naked motorcycles, but especially this one with how the power band is. It's just an absolutely excellent, well-rounded motorcycle. Like, is it more race focused? Sure. But can it also cruise for hours on end on the highway, or, you know, do a track day, or just wheelie around in town? Absolutely. It'll do whatever you want it to do. You could even tour with it if you really wanted to. Put like a pack on the back of it, or whatever you want to do. It'll accommodate. Other than maybe some off-road riding. That might be some, well, there is a channel that did that with a Panigale, so who knows? Maybe that is a thing you could morph it to do, but by and large, I feel like people don't really put that into perspective. They see a bike that's $20,000 and they're like, you know, that's a lot of money. You know, you're paying a lot for the name, but you're not. Okay, I shouldn't say you're not. That's false. You're paying, yes, for Ducati, but the technology that you're getting with it and the value that you're getting for it, in my eyes, is worth it. It's not like you're just, again, with MV Agusta, you buy their Brutale for God knows how much money. There's nothing really, it's an inline 4. There's nothing special about it other than maybe like, what, special production unit number? I don't know. Everybody that has reviewed that thing has been like, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't really serve a purpose other than to look at. At least with these bikes, you can look at them and perform on them just fine. So it really is the whole package to me, especially, and that's why I think I'll never get rid of this thing. I see a bike behind me. That's cool. I would also say that it has, you know, while it has pretty stiff competition in its segment, like I said earlier, I think it is the best out of the group. But again, I wouldn't own one if I didn't think it was the best. That thing pogoed so bad. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below, though, just to see where you guys are at and if you think this is a pretty good performance per dollar bike. I know that, again, I know it sounds, oh boy, I know it sounds weird, but I think it is. I know you guys can't see, but there's a bike behind me. I'm trying to entice him. What a fun ride. This road is always so fun to ride on. Maybe some of you are right. You know, maybe the Ducati brand has absolutely blurred my vision on other things. But I like other bikes. You know, it's not a question of I think Ducati is the best brand ever. It's just the fact that I've wanted this bike my entire adult life. So the fact that I have it now, of course I think it's the best bike. And I feel like I've put almost around 6,000 miles on this thing. So you figure I have a decent idea on, you know, how this thing performs, the practicality of it, the reliability of it. I'll tell you what though, these bikes do get hot. Not to a point where like they're overheating, but my butt and thighs just get very warm. It has the cylinder deactivation and stuff when you're at a stop. When you're just cruising without too much airflow, it's a little toasty. It's like a pogo stick. That's ridiculous. All right, time to get our little daily event. Gosh, those daily events are too easy. We definitely need gas. I need gas every single day I commute. 93, as always. I bet you it's 2.6 gallons. It always is. 2.5. Wow, we're efficient today. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this little ride home with me and kind of see my perspective on why I think this bike is actually quite underrated. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next one.